Good morning, Cult Nation. Miss Waddell here. This is the recorded lesson for Wednesday, September 16th. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. We are going to be starting a new unit this morning. Bear with me, hold on. All right. So I'm sharing my screen with you guys. So let me go to my PowerPoint slide. You guys can follow along at home. You guys can find this slideshow in your Cult Connections Google Classroom. I'm going to go over this presentation. At the end of this presentation, you guys will have an assignment that you guys can find under your Google Classroom that is labeled Cult Connections with today's date, September 16th. So like I said, we are starting a new unit today. The new unit, as you can see, is on thoughts, emotions, and decisions. So with that being said, I'm going to explain what we're going to do in this unit. In this new unit, we're going to explore all types of emotions because they're all so very important. Emotions affect what it is that we say, do, and think. So it is vital to manage them so we can make healthy decisions in our daily lives. Have you ever sat and wondered why it is that you feel a certain type of emotion, what it is that makes you feel that way? It could be any type of emotion, a positive emotion or a negative emotion. What it is that's going on in our brains that's kind of leading towards that emotion and our actions that match that emotion. So there's a lot of things that are happening inside our brains that we're probably not aware of how it works. But the purpose of this lesson and why it's important is because once we can understand why it is that those things are happening, how they're happening, and we're more mindful, then we can better process our emotions and have a better control over them. Today, we're going to learn how and why strong emotions can affect our decisions. You have 2 learning targets for today. The first one, you guys at the end of this lesson are going to be able to explain the importance of emotions. And you guys are also going to be able to describe how emotions can affect your thoughts and decisions. You might want to take some notes. I will tell you that the vocabulary part on here that we get to will be part of your exit slip that you guys do, and that's how you get your participation for this class. So just for a warm-up, I want you to take a second to describe a time when you felt a strong emotion. For example, it could be a time where you felt furious, panicked, or excited. Those are just some examples. Take a second to think about this question because on your exit slip, we're going to refer back to what it is that you were thinking for this warm-up question. For an example, just this morning, I got angry with my daughter because she would not get out of bed to let the dogs out. That's her one big morning job, is that when she wakes up, she's supposed to let the dogs out. I raised my voice at her because she was not getting up out of bed. She just wanted to lay there and just kind of be lazy. I ended up raising my voice at her, and I wish I had it. So that would be a time that I felt a strong emotion. That would have been anger or frustration. Okay, so think about a time when you felt a strong emotion, and then we're going to learn about what's happening in our brains as we're processing emotions, and then we're going to watch a pretty cool video that's pretty insightful about how that all works. While our experiences may be different, we all have moments like this that produce strong emotions. So obviously you're not a parent, so you're not having that frustration with kids, but you guys still have your own frustrations that are very real and important and meaningful to you. So our experiences are all different. We're all producing strong emotions throughout the day, and it's just us being able to keep that under control, and learn ways to better process those strong emotions when they happen. We're going to watch a video about what happens in our brains when we feel a strong emotion and why sometimes it is hard to make a good decision when our emotions are intense. As you watch, I want you guys to notice which part of the brains become more active and in what order. There's a lot that's happening in there. Remember our conversation last week when we talked about those neural pathways and how they get stronger the more and more we do something. So maybe we've learned some bad habits when we have some strong emotions and those pathways are strong. We're going to watch a video to see how this is all connecting. So let me get us over here. Bear with me. And the video is about 4 minutes long.
Have you ever wondered what happens inside your brain and your body when you experience strong emotions? What causes your emotions? Why do you feel the way you do? Let's go inside your brain to see what is happening when you feel strong emotions. What you see here, moving up and down the pathways of the brain, are called sensory input. You know, what you see, hear, touch, smell, or taste. Some sensory input triggers emotions in your brain. Some very strong emotions. Let's see what that looks like. Let's say you're at school and someone told you that your friend said that he did all the work on your science project, that you didn't do any of it. You know it's not true, so it immediately triggers an emotion. And where does this anger go? It heads for the amygdala. This is your amygdala. It's an area in the primitive automatic part of your brain, the part that runs things that you don't do consciously, like breathing or making your heart beat. Think of the amygdala as your feelings alarm. Whenever your brain gets input that is emotional, it sends it here. Your feelings alarm is automatic, and it's always set to go off instantly. When it does, it sends out urgent messages to get your brain and body ready to respond. Stress hormones are released, sending adrenaline rushing through your body. Your heart beats faster to pump more blood to your muscles and brain. Your lungs take in air faster to supply your body with oxygen. Sometimes your body's reaction is so strong that your stomach or your head hurts, or you feel shaky. You might even feel like you're losing control. At this point, you're probably not thinking very clearly. That's not surprising. The amygdala can't think at all. That's not its job. Luckily, it also sends a message to the thinking part of your brain. Hey, cortex, wake up. You've got an emotion to deal with. Wake up! This is your cortex. It's the thinking part of your brain. It's the gray matter, all folded in nooks and crannies that covers the outside of your brain. It's where you decide what to do with your emotions. The first thing the thinking part of your brain does is try to figure out the situation. What is this emotion? What's really happening? What should I do about it? Now, the thinking part of your brain doesn't work as fast as the automatic part. It takes time for emotional information to get here, and even longer to process it. Sometimes the thinking part of your brain gets overwhelmed. Your emotions take over, and you end up doing or saying something you regret. This is especially true during adolescence, when your amygdala is more active, and your emotions can sometimes feel stronger than they used to in the past. So before you do something you'll be sorry about later, you need to notice your strong emotions and use the thinking part of your brain to help you manage them. You take some slow breaths. You ask yourself if you really know what the situation is. Did your friend really say that? Do you need more information? And now that you're calming down, the thinking part of your brain sends a message back down to turn off your feelings alarm. But with all that adrenaline pumping through your body right now, it's going to take a while for the feeling of anger to completely go away. You just have to keep telling yourself everything's under control. That way, by the time you see your friend next, you are calm and ready to talk to him about the situation.
Okay, so the first time that I watched that video, I was very fascinated because I have not spent much time researching this topic. But think about how powerful that video was explaining what it is that's happening within our brain when we're experiencing an emotion. There were 2 vocabulary terms that were mentioned in there. Here they are on this slide. If you have a cell phone or your iPad and you can screenshot this, that'd be great, because these 2 vocabulary words will be on your exit slip at the end of this lesson. So the first part that we learned about was the amygdala. The amygdala is the part of the brain that's involved in experiencing emotions. And remember, I asked you guys before I played the video to pay attention to the order in which the brain is processing things. The amygdala is the very first part of the brain that is receiving these emotion signals. It's the very first response is your amygdala that notifies your brain of an emotion. So the amygdala is not part of your decision making. The part of your decision making is within your cortex. The cortex, that's your second vocabulary term, that's the part of the brain that's most involved in making those decisions. So before your big emotional response makes its way to the decision-making part of your brain, it goes straight to the amygdala, which is experiencing that emotion. Think about, and maybe this doesn't apply to you, or maybe it applied to you at some point in your schooling career, but think about a time that you've ever been in the assistant principal's office or in a counselor's office, an AP, somebody's office, because you were in trouble for something that happened in class or in the hallway or outside or in the gym, because you had gotten in trouble with the way that you responded and expressed your emotions. And then once you got in that office and you were talking to the assistant principal or whomever about what had happened, you were like, yeah, I should have handled that differently, looking back at it. Because at that point in time, you're calm, you're more likely calm because you're out of the situation, right? You're no longer right there in the middle of an experience. You've kind of been removed from that situation. You've had time to process it before talking to an adult about it. And you're like, man, that went way left. I should have done it this way, or I could have done X, Y, Z. And then you're kind of like, man, why didn't I just do that? Why didn't I walk away? Why didn't I, why did I get involved in that? Why did I listen to what that person was saying? And so this video is cool because it just kind of opens up the lens to let you understand that it's the way that our brains are made up. Is that those responses are going to the amygdala first, and it's like, warning, warning, we're experiencing a strong emotion. And then that's when you start to feel your heart beat fast. You start to sweat, your fists are clenched, you're tapping on something, your foot is rocking, maybe you're pacing back and forth, emotions like that. And then that's where you're more likely to respond, probably more so in a negative way than positive, until it reaches the cortex part of your brain that helps you make decisions. So it takes longer for that emotion to make it to the cortex where you're making those important decisions. So that's important because we can, if we know it's going to take longer, then we can be more aware of our bodies and how they're feeling under stress, so that we can handle these emotions before they get out of hand. Based on what you saw in the video, why do you think it's difficult to make good decisions when we're having strong emotions? So I kind of over-talked on the last slide, sorry. But based on what you saw in the video, why do you think it's difficult to make good decisions when we are having strong emotions? Here's some possible reasons. The amygdala works faster than the cortex. And that's what I was talking about on the other slide. The cortex can get overwhelmed by your emotions. Our emotions can take over, causing us to say or do something we might regret. And here I think is somewhere that we can all pretty much relate to. Okay, I'm pretty sure that we've all said or done something at some point in our life that we wish that we could take back or done differently. And so reasons why that is just by the way our brains are processing things. Let's look at a scenario. Another kid's cell phone fell out of Michael's friend's backpack and a teacher saw it. His friend said that Michael gave it to him, so Michael got blamed. Now Michael is angry. Let's answer these two questions. The first one is, how could being angry affect Michael's decision if he doesn't calm down and his cortex gets overwhelmed? Well, let's think about that. You've been accused and blamed for something that you know you didn't do. So you're feeling angry. If you don't calm down and your cortex gets overwhelmed, how could that affect your decision? Well, I know personally for myself that if I'm angry, I'm probably going to respond in a way that shows that anger. That could be, by yelling back, by becoming defensive in a way that's argumentative. That might be what that looks like. If you're angry and your decision-making cortex part of your brain is overwhelmed, then you're acting off of that emotion and you're not taking that time to think about and process that emotion. So you're probably going to respond negatively. The second question of that, how could being angry affect Michael's decision if he is able to calm down and use his cortex? So if he is able to kind of calm down and process that emotion, then he's probably going to be more effective in explaining to the teacher what it is that happened. Instead of arguing with the teacher and yelling and responding negatively, he's able to process that feeling. He's able to regulate it, calm himself down. In doing so, he's able to articulate and explain what it is that happened in a way that the adult is going to be open to hearing it, right? Because if somebody's yelling something at you, you're less likely to want to listen, okay? Let's look at the next slide. So now we're going to make connections. We're going to tie it all together. Remember at the start of this lesson, I had asked you guys to think about a time that you felt a strong emotion. Did that example that you came up with in the warm-up, did it affect your decision in a positive or a negative way? So thinking back at the very beginning of the lesson, when I asked you to think about a time that you felt a strong emotion, I shared an example with you guys about my daughter not getting up and taking the dogs outside. And so I got angry and I raised my voice. That affected my decision in a negative way, right? I was making a negative connection with my daughter. I'm starting the day off in a negative way. Nobody wants to start their day off, fussing at people and being upset and feeling negative emotions. So for me, it affected my decision in a negative way. That was not a positive thing. So think about your experience and how it affected your decision. What was happening in your brain that led to that decision? So for me, based off of the video that we watched and the vocabulary that we learned, I clearly did not give myself time to process that emotion, and I just instantly went to anger instead of calming it down, taking some breaths, walking up to her room, asking her why she didn't let the dogs out yet. So that's what was happening with me that led to that decision. In conclusion, today we learned about strong emotions and how they can impact our decisions. In the next lesson, you guys are going to compare thoughts and emotions and learn how they influence the decisions we make every day. It's important, guys, that you guys don't just watch this recorded lesson, that you guys actually go on to Cult Connections, You have to find the Cult Connection assignment for today in your Cult Connection Google Classroom. Please, please, please make sure you guys make a copy before you start typing, because what happens is if you don't make a copy, then your answers go on the Cult Connection, your teacher's Cult Connection page, and everybody can see your responses. Okay, so you want to make sure you make a copy before typing. Let them know if you have any issues accessing that document. On this very last slide, I want to thank you guys for your participation today. I'm really hoping that we can get back in the classroom so I can work with you guys and be more hands-on and not just see you guys once a week. So like I said, make sure that you guys complete the assignment under Cult Connection so you guys get your credit for today. If you guys have any questions about this assignment or need help with anything at all, my email address is right here on this last slide, natalie.waddell@jefferson.kyschools.us. I have also included my Bitmoji classroom. You can access that by clicking on the last slide. You can click on this Bitmoji right here, and it will take you to my Bitmoji classroom where there are several resources on there, and there's a way that you guys can get in touch with me on there. So with that being said, I would like to thank you guys for joining me today. I hope you guys have a wonderful Wednesday, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Thank you so much.